Didn't really think about it until the '06 legislative session. No one talked about education, economic development. The balance that I thought was so important to South Dakota had vanished, and we had just become captives of this pointless blather. And so that's when I decided to run again, but only thinking that I would maybe make a little difference in the balance in the Senate, and now here we are. I think South Dakotans want a balance that has been missing for a long time. I think they want progress, which they haven't seen in a long time. I think they want a leader who respects them and respects the values of South Dakota and doesn't come off as if there is a sense of entitlement. I think what you see across the country is people rejecting politicians who exhibit a sense of entitlement. I'm entitled to this office, or I'm entitled to, and I think that's what you see in Pierre, is a sense of entitlement. I honestly think that there are some members of the ruling establishment who would rather blow up state government than let a Democrat have a shot at it. I've said that before, and I really think that's true. I can see it in their eyes when I walk down the hall. I'm sort of hardened to the...
You've got a thick skin.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they've already said a bunch of things about me, and mostly I just hope that, mostly my focus is I hope people see through that and tell me how we need to counter that message with the truth.
They want approachable, and I think they like to make you as slick, and that seems to be the word, and you aren't.
My whole goal is for them to realize their dreams as South Dakotans, and whatever that is. If they're parents of a disabled child, they need the Birth to Three program. If they're a small businessman, they need government to get out of the way. I honestly think I'm in a unique position to make a dramatic difference for this state. And it's not about me, but when I look back through the history of South Dakota, we have had some great governors. But the governors who really decided to move this state, who weren't afraid to make mistakes, and you can't be afraid to make a mistake, are the ones that, if you look at South Dakota, you can see the arrow point up dramatically and then flatten for a generation. And then along comes another special governor and the arrow goes up dramatically. I think we're on the verge of one of those dramatic changes, and I think I'm the person who can do it. Am I the only person? Probably not. Am I the only person running? Yes.
This is the administration that has not one but two governor's mansions, one in the Black Hills that they spent $225,000 to fix the plumbing, and the state fair gets a grand total of $300,000.
I don't think I heard the answer.
What was your answer?
I will address something about being a fiscal conservative. When Linda and I built our house across the yard from my parents, we didn't do what we couldn't afford. We didn't have enough money for hardwood floors in our kitchen the way we wanted them, so we used some old softwood pine boards.
Well, let's go back to his fiscal conservatism. You know, when it's his money, he's really careful about using softwood on floors. When it's your money, he redoes the toilet in the governor's second mansion. Now that, to me, is a set of priorities that's upside down.
Why do I believe this race is so very important? It's simple. South Dakota today is in its worst financial crisis in history. During the past 8 years, Mike Rounds and Dennis Dugard have ushered in an unprecedented era of massive spending and growth in state government. 7 of their 8 budgets spent much more than they took in. This year alone, they've submitted a record budget deficit of $107 million, the largest budget deficit in state's history. A major part of the problem has been their attitude towards spending. In 8 years, state spending has increased a dramatic 53%. They've added an additional state employee every 48 hours. They give hundreds of no-bid state contracts to their political cronies, costing the state tens of millions of dollars, while they take hundreds of thousands of dollars from these same folks into their campaign accounts. On top of this, they've also fought for the wrong priorities: On their watch, our state gave more than $38 million to a foreign oil company, TransCanada, to build a pipeline in South Dakota they were building anyway, with or without our money. North Dakota and Nebraska didn't give them a dime, and they built the exact same pipeline through their states. South Dakota also owns and maintains too many airplanes, 3 just for Mike and Dennis to use. They also spent $250,000 to fix up their summer playhouse at Valhalla, while they closed the People's Playhouse at Custer State Park. These wrong priorities have left our state in the worst financial situation ever. But merely shuffling the current players in pier would be like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Things really won't have changed, and the outcome will be the same. Dennis Dugard and I went to college together. He's a nice man with a wonderful family. However, the challenges facing our state today demand a governor who is more than a nice person. Our state desperately needs bold leadership right now. My priorities will be vastly different than Dennis Dugard's. We have to make the tough cuts to get our budget back into balance without raising your taxes. Then we can look to getting our school funding back where it should be, while we place an emphasis on jobs and rebuilding crumbling roads and bridges. We can do this. South Dakotans deserve a state government as good as our people. I will give you that. It's time. Thanks again for watching. And if I can say that I advanced the ball for the people of South Dakota, boy, I'll be happy. I have that work yet to do. It isn't what party you belong to, and it never has been for me. It is about what policies you believe in, and it will always be about that for me. I always say to Susan, when you're on your deathbed and you're looking back, one thing you don't want to say is, gee, I wish I'd tried. I wish that I'd given it an effort that I didn't. And so we're giving it everything we have.